I folded the check in half, slid it into the cream envelope, and wrote her name on the front. No dear, no note. Just her name. Then I walked 2 blocks to her house and dropped it through the mailbox slit. No one opened the door. I didn't expect them to. I hadn't heard a thank you in years. The amount never changed. $1,500. Always on the 5th. Always in person. My son passed 10 years ago, but the habit stuck like an old ringtone. She said it helped with groceries, school supplies, a little extra for emergencies. I believed her. At least I wanted to. That morning, I ran into Mr. Hale outside Winco. He was picking up mulch. I had milk and eggs. We don't usually chat long, but today he looked at my bag, then looked at me. You still sending money to her? He asked, adjusting his cap. I hesitated. Yeah. He leaned in, voice low. Stop. Go home and check your side camera, the one facing the fence. You'll know why. It wasn't what he said that got me, it was how he said it. Like he knew something I didn't. Like he was sorry he had to be the one to say it. I went quiet the whole way home. In my head, I started doing what moms always do, justifying things. She's tired. Maybe she said something out of stress. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. But somewhere in the back of my throat, something stuck. That kind of dread that doesn't let you swallow right. Before I opened the footage, I sat down at the kitchen table and just stared at the wall. I hated myself for how long I'd kept quiet. Not once in 10 years had I asked to see where the money went. I was too afraid of losing my last link to my son, of being told to stay out. What kind of mother gets afraid of her own family? If it's really family, then why do I have to buy my place in it? That's when Lisa, my old co-worker, texted lunch Friday. I almost said yes out of habit. Then I looked at the screen again. My hand was still shaking. I clicked open the video file. 3 minutes. No edits. Just enough to change everything. I paused the video. Rewound it. Watched it again with the sound off this time, as if that would make it hurt less. It was 3:12 p.m. August 30th, the timestamp clear in the top corner. But it wasn't from my security camera. It came from my granddaughter's iPad. She'd been doing a school project, and somehow, when she came over last week, she'd airdropped it to my phone by mistake. In the clip, my daughter-in-law sat on a deck chair with a glass of champagne in one hand and someone else's arm draped over her shoulder. Not my son. I don't know whose. Her voice was loud, joking. I know how to squeeze that woman dry. She thinks she's helping. Let her. Then laughter. From someone else. 2 seconds later, the file cut off. I just sat there. My mouth was dry. I remember staring at the chipped handle of my coffee mug, not knowing what to do. My instinct was to call her. To ask, what is this? But something in me stopped. Because if she could say that on camera, what could she say on the phone when she knows I'm listening? Later that evening, I called my cousin Anna. We hadn't talked in months. I told her what I saw, kept it short. She didn't gasp. She just said, "Honey, if someone's proud of using you, it's not just a mistake. It's a pattern." That one hit me. I sat there for a while after we hung up. I thought about every time I'd excused her tone, or her forgetting to invite me to school events or birthdays, where she posted photos online, but never told me they were happening. I used to say she's just busy. She's raising 2 kids alone. But is she really alone? And if this is family, why does it sound like a scam? I felt stupid. Not just for the money, but for handing over trust, like a free refill. 10 years, and I never once asked for proof. I didn't want to risk losing my connection to the kids. I didn't want to make things harder for her. And now I wonder, when did I start letting fear call the shots? I renamed the file, Water Breaks Slowly. Then I copied it twice. Once to my laptop. Once to a drive I locked away in the cabinet. Just in case someone tries to say, that's not what happened. The next morning, I printed every bank transfer from the past 2 years. I sat at the dining table with my old Dell laptop and logged into my Wells Fargo account. Every second Friday, $1,500. Like clockwork. Memo lines varied groceries, kids, sometimes medical. It looked generous on paper. But the video kept echoing in my head. Free money's the easiest kind. She said it like it was a joke, a game. I didn't find it funny. By 11:20 a.m. August 31st, I had printed 24 months' worth of transfers. $63,000. I highlighted each one, not out of spite, just to see it in black and white. There's something about paper that makes things real. More real than phone calls, more real than tears. The last transfer had gone out just a week ago. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just stopped. 2 days later on a Sunday morning, I got a text. Did the bank mess up? No deposit this week, no greeting, no punctuation. Just that. I stared at it. Didn't reply. I waited. 10 minutes later came the second message. Let me know. The kids need food. That line made me freeze. Because if the money was truly for the kids, where were the grocery receipts? Why hadn't I ever seen one backpack or lunchbox she said she bought? And more than that, if we're really a family, why does the first message sound like a billing reminder? I called Judy, a friend from the church bookkeeping team. She's sharp with numbers, and even sharper with people. I asked her, would you keep giving if you saw that video? She didn't hesitate. Nope. Love doesn't mean blind. It means balance. Her voice was calm. Mine wasn't. I hung up and stared at my hands. They were shaking again. I hated how long I'd gone along with it. Not just the money I gave up, my dignity trying to stay in the loop with my grandkids. Every birthday card, every late-night babysit. Every text that got ignored. I made excuses for all of it. Now I couldn't tell if I was trying to be kind or just scared of being left out completely. I folded the receipts into a manila folder and slid them into the drawer next to my birth certificate. I didn't know what I'd need them for yet, but I knew I would. And I still hadn't told her. But the next Friday came, and the account stayed untouched. Hey, looks like the payment didn't go through. That was the message. Friday 10th, 4 a.m. I was at the DMV waiting to renew my license. I read it, locked my phone, and stared at the number screen for another 40 minutes. I didn't reply. An hour later, she called. I let it ring. Then again. Then came the group message, me, her, and the kids' moms acting weird. Can someone check on her weird? I sat in my car, a 2013 Honda CR-V, with a sticky AC knob, and just stared at the dash. Acting weird is when someone forgets your birthday. What I did was stop sending money. And suddenly, that's a red flag. That afternoon I had coffee with Sharon, my neighbor. She's seen it all, divorce, remarriage, stepkids, you name it. I showed her the message. She sipped once and said, "They don't miss you. They miss the wire." I wanted to argue, but the words caught in my throat. Because a part of me already knew that. And worse, I'd known for a while. I just didn't want to believe it. I used to say family was everything, but now I had to ask if I'm family. Why is the first text always about money? Not how are you? Not let's have lunch. Just, it didn't go through. I didn't answer the group chat. I didn't open it again. But I did pull out the old manila folder again that night. Looked at every transfer. And this time, I highlighted the memo lines. Some said kids, some said school. I couldn't remember ever seeing a report card. Couldn't remember the last time they called without a reason. I felt shame. Real shame. Not because I gave money. Because I thought it would buy love or keep me relevant. What it did was blur lines I should have drawn years ago. 3 days later, I was cleaning out the fridge when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I wiped my hands, checked the camera. She was there. And she brought someone with her. Someone I hadn't seen in years. "She's been struggling," he said, standing on my front step like he wasn't sure if he should come in. It was 6:45 p.m. The light already gone from the street porch bulb, flickering like it always does. I recognized him right away, Mark, my son's best friend since high school. He used to sleep on our couch, eat cereal straight from the box. I hadn't seen him in years. I didn't invite him in. I handed him a folded stack of papers instead. Bank transfers, dates, amounts, 2 years' worth. He took them, glanced down, then back up at me. His face changed, not shock, more like recognition. "This isn't help anymore," I said. "It's maintenance." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. He sighed and nodded. "Yeah," he said quietly. That was it. No defense. No speech about family sticking together. That told me more than anything else could have. I leaned against the doorframe and asked the questions I'd been holding back. If this is really about family, why does every conversation start when the money stops? If she's struggling, why does the plan always depend on my account instead of hers? Mark didn't answer. He didn't need to. He shifted his weight and said, "She didn't think you'd push back. Not cruel, just factual." Like he was talking about the weather. That stung more than I expected. Because he was right. I hadn't pushed back. For 10 years, I trained them not to expect it. I felt a wave of shame wash over me, real physical. My chest tightened. I thought about my grandkids, about missing birthdays, about being labeled difficult if I asked one hard question. Somewhere along the line, I confused keeping peace with keeping my place. Mark handed the papers back. "You're not wrong," he said. "Just late." Then he left. That night, I sat at the kitchen table again. Same chair, same mug. I plugged in a USB drive I'd bought months ago and never used. Copied the video file. Then the bank statements. I labeled the folder with the date and slid it into the drawer with my important documents. I didn't feel brave. I felt tired. But for the first time in a long while, I felt clear. The next morning, my phone buzzed again, this time with a message I hadn't seen before. I invited Mr. Hale in for coffee around 2:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I had just reheated the same cup twice before finally drinking it. He sat down at the kitchen table, still in his work shirt from the hardware store. I pulled out the laptop and hit play. The audio wasn't great, but it didn't need to be. I paused it halfway. "Is this the voice you heard by the fence that day?" I asked him. He didn't hesitate. "Yeah," he said. "That's her." And that laugh, I remember it clear. I let it play to the end. He shook his head. "If you ever need someone to say that in a room, I'm there." That mattered more than I expected. Because up until that moment, it had all been in my head or on my screen. Having him hear it, confirm it, name it, that made it real. Tangible. Like I wasn't losing it. We sat in silence for a while. He stirred his coffee with the end of a spoon and finally said, "They really think you won't do anything, huh?" I didn't answer, but I thought about it. They think I won't act because I never have. And they're not wrong. I was scared of losing my grandkids, of being called bitter, of ending up alone. But if I'm paying every month just to be tolerated, is that even family? And if she truly believed I was part of the family, why did she look straight into the camera and say what she said? Mr. Hale stood up to leave. Before he walked out, he looked over his shoulder and added, "Whatever you do next, do it quiet, do it smart." I nodded. He didn't need to say more. After he left, I sat back down and scrolled through my emails. Found the bank's fraud reporting contact. Then I stopped. Not yet. I wasn't ready to burn the whole thing down. Not until I had every piece in place. But I did open that folder on my computer, the one labeled "Water Breaks Slowly." I added a screenshot of the transfer log, then one of her texts. What I needed now wasn't more proof. It was timing, and a clean place to drop the hammer. It was July 9th, a little after 11:00 a.m., when the call came through. I was at the DMV waiting for my number C413 to be called. I answered with my headphones in half, listening, thinking it'd be another excuse. Instead, she went straight into, "This month's payment needs to go through Cash App." Okay, I didn't say anything at first. Just tapped record on my phone's voice memo app. Then I spoke calmly. "Sorry, could you repeat that? Just for my notes." She laughed like it was a joke. "What I said, it's easier now. Just send it to my boyfriend's account. I'll text you the tag." I stayed quiet. She didn't ask why. Didn't think to. That told me everything. I ended the call, saved the recording, and forwarded the Cash App tag to myself by email with the subject, line bold. No one in a family should ever be comfortable saying something like that out loud unless they believe you're powerless or too scared to push back. And if this was really about the kids, why route money through someone else? I called my friend Dolores on the drive home. She used to work in compliance for a credit union. I told her the basics, nothing about the video yet. Just what had been said. She paused, then asked, "Why are you still sending money at all?" I pulled into my driveway and stared at the garage. Habit, maybe, or fear, or guilt. She exhaled. Then that's what they're banking on. She was right. Somewhere deep down, I was still hoping to be thanked, or needed, or forgiven, for what I'm not even sure anymore. Maybe just for outliving my son, for being the one left holding the pieces. That night, I typed out a message to the group chat. My fingers hovered over the screen for a second, then hit send, let's meet, all of us. Friday night. My house, no emojis, no explanation. Then I texted Dolores separately. "Would you come by around 6:30, just to be around, in case things go sideways?" It was Friday, July 12th, 6:57 p.m. The roast chicken had gone cold on the counter. I wasn't planning to serve it anyway. She walked in first, wearing heels too high for a quiet dinner, holding a bottle of Cabernet like this was a celebration. Him, my son's best friend, followed 2 steps behind, eyes scanning the walls like he didn't recognize this place anymore. Dolores was already there in the kitchen, pretending to scroll her phone. She gave me a small nod when they sat down. My daughter-in-law poured herself a glass of wine without asking. "So, what's this about?" she said, smirking. He just sat beside her, quiet. I slid the folder across the table. Transfer records, notes, printouts, on top, the USB. "You used my son's death to fund your pride," I said. She blinked, laughed once. "Excuse me." I didn't stutter. I leaned forward. Champagne boyfriend's backdoor deposits. I saw it all. She stood up fast. "That's a violation. That's invasion." I looked her straight in the face. "You cashed every check with medical expenses in the memo line. You said it was for my grandson. So answer me. Why's the money going to an account that isn't even yours?" She didn't answer. She grabbed her bag and walked out, heels clicking across the wood like a timer. He stayed seated. Dolores said nothing, just kept tapping her screen. He finally spoke. "Why now?" That hit me. Not, "Is this true?" Not, "Show me." Just, "Why now?" I swallowed. "Because your mother's been dead 10 years and I kept trying to keep her name safe. But you can't protect someone's legacy by funding a lie." He stared at the table. Quiet. Then said, "I didn't know. I thought you wanted to help." Wanting to help, I said, shouldn't be mistaken for being disposable. After they left, I sat down next to the USB, just staring at it. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt used and stupid for not seeing it sooner. For wanting so badly to stay connected, I let myself get drained. I put the folder in a drawer. I still had one more thing to do. I poured him a cup of coffee at 7:22 a.m. the next morning. Black. No sugar. The way he takes it. He sat at the kitchen table where my son used to sit, elbows tucked in, eyes tired like he hadn't slept. I slid the mug toward him and waited. I didn't rush. I'd done enough rushing for a lifetime. "You knew she was lying?" he asked, staring into the cup like the answer might float up. I nodded. Yes. For how long I didn't look away. Long enough to know that noise doesn't teach. Silence does. He ran a hand through his hair. So you just watched. I picked up my own mug and set it back down, untouched. I watched. I saved. I waited. Then I asked him something I needed to say out loud. If this was really about family, why did every conversation start with money? And if she could manage without me, why did panic set in the minute I stopped? He didn't answer. He didn't argue either. That mattered. Dolores stepped into the kitchen to grab her purse. She paused, looked at him and said, "Boundaries aren't punishment. They're maintenance." Then she left us alone. No lecture. Just that. He finally looked up. "I thought you wanted to help," he said. "She told me you insisted." I felt something crack then. Not anger, shame. I hated that I'd made myself easy to misquote, that I'd let fear of losing the kids, of being erased, keep me quiet for so long. I swallowed hard. "I wanted to help," I said. "I didn't want to disappear." He nodded slowly, like that landed. "I don't want revenge," I added. "I want limits." I reached into the drawer and took out the folder. Didn't open it, just placed it on the table between us. He didn't touch it. We sat there a while, the house making its usual sounds. The fridge hummed. A car passed outside. Ordinary things. When he left, I didn't hug him. I didn't apologize. I just watched him walk to his car. The next day, I went to the bank and changed the beneficiary on every account. And as I signed the last form, my phone buzzed again. I walked past the photo in the hallway like I always do. It was taken in 2007. He had just finished repainting the porch that summer. He was wearing that faded Oregon Duck sweatshirt and holding a cup of gas station coffee. I stood in front of it longer than usual. No tears, just breath stuck halfway. There was no apology, no text, no knock on the door. But the bank confirmed on April 3rd at 9:12 a.m. no more auto drafts. I checked twice. Then I deleted the scheduled transfer from my Wells Fargo app for good. My granddaughter still comes by. She brings her own lunch now. Last Thursday, she showed up with a plastic container of penne and a folded napkin. She didn't say anything about her mom. Just asked if I had any of those cinnamon cookies I used to bake. I didn't, but I said I'd make some next time. At one point, she asked Grandma, "Are you mad?" I told her I'm not mad. I'm just done explaining. It's funny when people say we're family, it usually means they're about to cross a line. So I started asking myself, if it's really family, why does it always come with a condition? And if they care so much about keeping me around, why does that only depend on my wallet? I saw Carla at the pharmacy picking up her dad's meds. She whispered, "You look better lately, like someone stopped stealing your sleep." I smiled, just nodded. Truth is, I still carry guilt. Not for stopping the payments, but for not noticing sooner. For defending someone who used struggling as a shield. For being so afraid of losing my grandkids that I gave too much too long. The USB is still in my drawer. It's in a red Altoids tin tucked under a stack of tax folders. I don't need it now. I just want to remember I wasn't crazy. I didn't win back a daughter-in-law or a son, but I kept my name, my pace, my peace. And when I look at that hallway photo, I still see him. Just his eyes. Next week, I'm meeting with a notary about the deed. Let's see how deep this family line really goes.